unknown. Mysteries and Mayhem.
Welcome back to the Mystery and Mayhem channel. Since our last sinister video was such a terror, we will revisit 5 more small towns with dark histories. Number 1. Bear Brook Murders. The Bear Brook murders in Bear Brook State Park, New Hampshire, came to light in November of 1985 when a barrel was found with 2 unidentified bodies inside. Both were female and both appeared to have died from blunt force trauma to the head. This case soon went cold though, as DNA was in its infancy and other tools were not available yet. The weird thing about this case though is 15 years later in May of 2000, not too far from where the first barrel was located, another was discovered with the same gruesome discovery inside. 2 more girls were found. Tests revealed they all died around the same time, anywhere in between 1977 and 1981. DNA revealed that 3 of the 4 bodies were in fact related. Further investigation work was done, and it led to a serial killer named Terry Rasmussen. 3 of the bodies were in fact his children, and Terry was believed to have at least 7 more victims. Terry was already serving life in prison for the murder of his wife when the Barrel Girls were linked to him. Not much else has been released in regards to this case, but creepy nonetheless. Number 2. The death of 12-year-old Georgie Jane Cruz. When murder happens in a small town where everybody knows everybody, the chances are the victim and the killer weren't strangers. This was the case in a small town in Florida with about a population of 397, where a 12-year-old girl named Georgie Jane Cruz was tragically killed in 1980. Cruz went missing and the town went frantic searching. 2 days later, the police department received a call from an unknown caller. The caller stated, "You know that 12-year-old you're looking for? She's dead." The girl's grandmother received the same call, and the police marshal's wife as well. About a week later, the body was found decomposing near a Kmart parking lot. The town was so small, there really was no suspects, no outside truck seen or unknown vehicles or persons, no strangers around. So the town had to do the one thing that was terrifying: look within themselves. Still, the killer was never found, but everybody knew that there was a killer in that small Florida town. Number 3, Thatcher, Arizona. This small town is prominently religious and a place where you leave your doors unlocked. Until 29-year-old Marianne Holmes was brutally murdered in her own house in 1995. The attacker came in the back door. A single mother, she was alone with her 4-year-old daughter and 18-month-old daughter at the time of the attack. Marianne was tortured sexually and brutalized for hours in front of her poor children. She was then killed by blunt force trauma to the head. Her 4-year-old daughter sat naked and bound, watching her mother die. She sat with her mother for hours after the attack before she ran across the road to the neighbors, naked and bound, with her hands tied. People say monsters are not real and that the devil is a myth. If you ask me, the devil himself visited Thatcher that night. Thank God those children were not hurt, at least physically. But still to this day, the case remains unsolved, with no other witnesses than a poor 4-year-old child. Number 4, Gregory Villaman, killed by the crow. This one happened in a small French village in 1984. Gregory was killed out of pure spite for his own father. Gregory was kidnapped and drowned in the river, with his hands and feet bound. He was only 4 years old. He was not far from his own parents' house at the time of his death. The next day, his parents received a letter. This letter reading, "I hope you die. I hope you die of grief, boss. Your money can't bring back your son. Here is my revenge, you bastard." For several years after, they have been getting abusive phone calls from a man known by the media as the Crow. He was never identified. They assumed it to be the same person who killed Gregory. There were suspects, but even his father's own cousin was considered a suspect in Gregory's death. The killer was never caught, and a small village never the same. Number 5. Logan, Ohio. Summer Inman. Summer Inman was a young mother of 3. On March 22nd, Summer Inman went to work as usual. She cleaned a bank at night. That night, she was texting her boyfriend, Adam Peters, but her text stopped suddenly. Then she didn't arrive home. He was frantic with worry. He drove to the bank, and that's when he discovered her iPod, keys, and phone by the dumpster. He contacted her parents, and they reported her missing. The police also received calls from worried witnesses who believed they saw an abduction take place outside the bank on that night. The witnesses saw 2 men in ski masks taser Summer and put her in the car. They gave a description of the car. Police started their investigation. They found out she divorced her husband in June of 2011, and it was a bitter custody battle that enraged. William Inman was painted in Summer's diary as a violent and controlling man. Summer needed out of that relationship ASAP. William began to become more violent and more rage when he lost custody of his kids, and Summer's new relationship made him crazy. Police went to speak with the Inman family and found in their driveway was the car described by the witness. Police took the car in the investigation. They found out on the 23rd they got a car wash and new tires at 7:30 a.m. On video, William, Bill, and Sandy could be seen, but no Summer. William and Bill refused to speak to the police or answer their questions, but Sandy, Will's mom, did. Almost immediately, she said Summer was dead. She said it was an accident, though, that they had took her to scare her into giving them access to their grandchildren. She said they zip-tied her hands, they zip-tied her feet, and they put a zip tie around her neck. It was way too tight and began to cut off oxygen, but they had nothing to cut it off with, and she suffocated in the car. Sandy, for her help, received a plea deal of 15 years and no death penalty. Summer's body was found in a septic tank behind a church. William and Bill got life without parole. It was clear how controlling the Inman family was, and how a young mother of 3 was brutally killed and tossed aside into garbage as if she was nothing. Okay, everybody, I hope you are as thoroughly creeped out as I am. That was another 5 small towns with dark histories. Be sure to like and subscribe so we can keep bringing you some more mysteries and mayhem. And if you haven't checked out our other videos, feel free to click and watch. See you next time.